Welcome to the Wealthy Actor Podcast. I'm Valerie Hubbard, an industry veteran with 25 years dedicated to helping actors navigate the business side of their craft.
And I'm James Hallett, a fellow lifelong actor and coach, joining Valerie on this journey.
Here on The Wealthy Actor, we're diving deep into the stories and insights of actors from all walks of life.
We'll be unraveling the threads of success, failures, and everything in between.
So if you're ready to embark on a journey beyond the footlights, join us as we sit down with fascinating actors, industry experts, and thought leaders to uncover the secrets of becoming a truly wealthy actor. I'm Valerie Hubbard.
And I'm James Hallett.
And this is the Wealthy Actor Podcast, where the art of acting meets the business of building a truly prosperous life in the spotlight. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wealthy Actor Podcast. My name is Valerie Hubbard, and I'm joined by my
friend, James Hallett. Hi, Val.
I'm going to say by my partner. What do I call it? My friend? My
colleague, my colleague in crime. Yes.
We have done crimeful things together, I think, James.
Oh, really? We are actors, so we are always skirting the boundaries.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
You know.
Oh my God! I'm so excited for our guest today, Miss Brigitte Millar. I'm going to read you her bio. It's good. Just trust me. Okay. Brigitte Millar is an award-winning London-based bilingual European English actress. Her family ancestry goes back to the famous painter Émile Nold, and she has inherited his natural creativity. But Émile died in abject poverty, and although his paintings now fetch seven-figure sums, Brigitte's artistic skills were heavily discouraged and would have been lost forever but for support and encouragement of her brother. Out of work, having been made redundant from dull and boring day job, Brigitte considered the possibility of a dancing career, but her brother steered her towards an acting and lifelong talent and passion was discovered. Shortly after she finished drama school, Brigitte was cast as Emmeline Vance in Harry Potter, directed by David Yates, and she has worked consistently on many high-quality projects since. Cool beans. In 2011, she won the award for Best Supporting Actress in an international film festival in Los Angeles for her role as Amelia Holland in the multi-award winning feature film David is Dying, directed by Stephen Lloyd Jackson. The film won 8 awards in the United States alone, the first British independent feature film to do this. She has worked with a range of highly respectful directors, including Sam Mendes, Cary Fukunaga, Tim Burton, and David Yates. She is an active member of the Actors Center in London and has studied with many of the masters, including the American acting coaches Jack Waltzer and Bernard Hiller. Having played the villain, Dr. Vogel, in Spectre opposite Daniel Craig and Christopher Waltz, she was asked to reprise her role as Dr. Vogel in The No Time to Die in 2019. She received an award of merit of acting for the role as Clara Winters in her passion project Knox at the film festival in Atlanta, USA. In 2020, she was awarded Best Supporting Actress for the same role at the Indie X Festival in LA. In 2021, she received a further award for Best Actress for this role at London International Motion Picture Awards. Now, with her green card in hand, she is ready to take on any challenge. Her hobbies include ballroom and Latin American dancing, Argentine tango, horse riding, reading, visiting art galleries, and meditation. Welcome to the show.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you here. That is such a powerful bio. I mean, it really knocks my socks off. And I mean, one of the questions that I have for you immediately is like, where are you in this moment? So in terms of you and your career and what you're looking forward to and what you're experiencing, where do you find yourself now?
I've just changed agents, so I'm looking to settle in with my new agent.
Yeah.
And I want to come over to the US and hook up with my managers and have a chat and see what I can do over there. That's really what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah.
Mm. So that's I mean that's huge, and I know that there's a different kind of opportunity here than in the UK. When you think about like when you have that image of what opens up in the journey to the US, what are the avenues that you're like, oh, that's possible there that I wouldn't have here, or this is what I imagine the shift could bring. Like how do you frame that for yourself?
I would love to do something in Marvel as a villainess or scientist or something like that.
That's great. And I mean, you were so you were um, in the Daniel Craig, Christopher Waltz, Dr. Vogel, No Time to Die. Um, what what was that like for you? These you know Christoph Waltz is that's something.
He's your idol.
That's somebody who I would love to act with. Yeah, because he's an actor's actor from what I have read about him. It's hard to know from a distance what someone is like, in person up close. But he's, my sense of him is he's an actor's actor.
Yeah.
That he comes from the world of stage, and he comes, what was it like to be working on that level with these people?
I felt that there was a lot of pressure on me
Mm.
because when you're working with A-list actors, I mean, you definitely don't want to fluff your lines. I mean, you want to be at your best. So I did prepare really a lot every day. I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, have my breakfast and my shower and everything, and then I would go over my lines before they picked me up and took me on set just to make sure that I knew exactly, what I was doing. Because I mean, you don't want to be, fluffing your lines with A-list actors.
And, it's like it is a mindset thing, like telling yourself, I have to tell myself all the time, especially now that we do self-tape and we go on set before we ever enter a room and we go on set. I always tell myself I'm a pro. I tell myself that over and over again.
That's probably a really good mantra to have.
Yeah. We've coached together and you are a pro, like you're a consummate professional. And I think that most of the work that we do and what we talk about is really a mindset thing for you, like understanding like, hey, because, like when people have credits, it's like people can be as insecure with people that don't have credits. It's not anything to do with the credits. I mean, if you think, I'm speaking for probably me and Bridget, but if you think that credits are going to make you a more confident person, they're not. That is like, you have to do it because you're constantly going to be wanting more. Yeah. Would you agree with me on that?
Absolutely. Yeah. And also because like when you're having to give a speech, you don't know where they want you to pick up that speech. For example, they would say, oh, can you go halfway down that speech and do it again? Or can you do 3/4 down that speech and do it again? So you really have to know where's halfway down and where's 3/4 of the way down in your speech. So yeah, you have
so I've never told this story, but I was playing Richard Kynes, and he wasn't kind to me. I was playing his wife in this movie, and the PA, it was a cheap movie. The PA was supposed to give me a go on when I entered, and my enter was comedy, right? I mean, we were comedy. I was interrupting something, and it had to be on the exact moment. And the PA was terrible. And Richard Kind got so mad at me because I couldn't hear. I had to get a cue to walk in. And it's interesting, like, how much pressure when you're with like a big star and they want their moment to be right, but they don't see the whole picture. Right? Or they don't care about the whole picture. They just think you're not funny. And I'm hilarious. So, hey.
It's true. And also the reality of working with people who have been in the industry a long time, as actors, they feel empowered to say things that we might not feel empowered to say.
Yeah.
So I was on set with an actor who told me what he wanted me to do in opposition with what the director was saying.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, this is an impossible situation. As an actor, you're in an impossible situation when the lead of a project tells you to do one thing and the director is whispering in your ear, do this other thing, and you then have to make a choice. Because you can't stop and say, hey, you two are disagreeing, right? You can't out either one of them because they both are powerful. And you just have to make a choice. Chose making the director happy and the actor furious at me because I had chosen to give the director what the director wanted. I mean, but this is the other reality too, is like Bridget, reading through your bio and hearing it read again by Valerie, you've done a lot of work. You've worked in a lot of projects and gone through a lot of things. And I imagine that you've played leads also, not just to be facing with the stars, but not be as the A-listers, yes, but it's also, you having made a journey as an actor working in many different places. Where do
it's
you...
interesting that you're saying that, because before I came on, I was thinking about my role as Emmeline Vance in Harry Potter after drama college. And sort of just looking back on the whole journey, I actually went to Twickenham Studios to meet the casting director. She didn't really ask me to audition. She just sat down with me and we just talked. And it's like, hi, and how are you? And and we were just chit-chatting. And I just finished sort of filming the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, my first sort of little role when I was still a student. And we were talking about Tim Burton and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and it was nothing to do with the audition. And she was really taking the time.
That's so nice. So nice. You write about your brother in your bio.
Yes.
And it's clear that relationship has more deep meaning to you. Talk about your brother a little bit, like who is he, or was he in your life, or or what is he like? And
total opposites. He's the IT guy. He's the tech geek, and I'm the tech idiot, presumably. The artist, and I'm not technically minded at all. We're like at completely opposing ends of the spectrum.
Did he encourage you? What form did that take?
I was crying down the telephone, not after having been made redundant. And not knowing what to do with myself. And he got probably fed up with that and sort of said, oh, well, let me just see if there's something that she could do. And he sort of suggested, because obviously the dance course was full up. And I said, well, there's this space on this acting course. And he said, oh, yeah, why don't you do that acting course? I think he just wanted to get rid of me, get me off the phone, having to listen to my crying and sobbing. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to be an actor. I want to do dance. You can try the acting, and then if there's a space on the dance course later on, maybe you can join in later. And obviously that never happened. I went to acting classes, and that was that.
Yeah, you were just a walking actress that didn't know it.
Probably.
Because you're obvious. So tell us like a bad experience. You don't have to name names, but tell us something where you had a bad experience on set or an audition or whatever.
I think, as far as I can remember, I've only had, touch wood, one bad experience. And it was in a feature film. And what I didn't know at the time, can I say that word? He was a cokehead, and I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I found out later.
Wow. Yeah.
He was on something. He'd written the script himself, and there was nothing fundamentally wrong with the script, but I had to do this speech. And he'd written the speech, and he'd repeated the same thing, just using different words. And when you do that, obviously your brain is sort of like, it's like Groundhog Day, and you lose the thread, because basically what you're doing is you're saying the same thing over and over again. And I lost my thread in the speech. And he had such a go at me. And he made me feel this tall. And,
wow.
I felt really terrible. I mean, I did get it together, but I didn't, what I didn't know at the time that he was, not a very nice person.
Yeah.
Totally hear you. I was in a play where every scene I was in as this one character started with, well, I had a dream last night. And I literally backstage had to have a list of like, you're here now. It's this dream. It's this dream. It's because it's really hard when the repetitive language kicks in. I can't. I mean, I had a lovely director and a lovely team I was working with. I can't imagine what it would be like to be working with a cokehead at the time of that. That just sounds like a real
Yeah,
nightmare.
there's this play called The Circle, I think, and it's like it goes around in a circle and it tells the story in different timelines. And I remember they were doing it in acting school, and I knew one of the girls in it. She one night it went around and she said the line from the other scene from the other side. And then she said the look on the other actress's face is like, "What are you doing?" That's hilarious. Oh, well, so that's not bad. You never, like I have a bunch of stories. I had a girl one time that I was doing Orpheus Descending, and she was playing Carol Cottrell and I was playing Beulah Bennings, and we don't like each other anyway, but she changed the blocking after we opened, which is, a actors equity. No, you don't do that. And so she changed the blocking. So I went to her dressing room to ask her why she changed the blocking, and she slammed the door in my face.
Oh, that's
And
terrible.
so then I really hated her that night, which is probably what she wanted to do to me. But
Bridget, have you done stage work?
I only did the little bit of stage work at drama college, and obviously, I don't know, it just took that turn with Harry Potter, and then obviously what followed was just film work, and so.
yeah. And what's your favorite role?
Well, Dr. Fogel, I think, was my favorite role so far.
Yeah. Because why? Because it was James Bond, or is there other reasons?
So she's a real villainess, and I really enjoyed it. It's something to
Yeah.
get your teeth into, isn't it?
Yes. You are determined to play that. And I think your trip to New York and LA to meet people and go get in front of Sarah Finn and whoever you can when it comes to Marvel is a really smart thing. I mean, I think really just selling that villain chick is what you need to be doing, because we're really finding, like, I don't know if you are realizing this, but everything is very niche marketing right now. It's very niche, more than ever. Like that. We had this voiceover artist that said, if you do things like a niche, like a voice for museum, when you go to the museum and you get the earphones and it tells you if you do that, you can just do a reel and sell yourself to museums all over the world. And I thought that's such great advice. So I think you selling the villain is great. I think you are the villain.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Like the places that we can step into powerfully as a performer may not have anything to do with who we are in our personal lives. Like you seem like such a kind, thoughtful person. With the ability to joyfully step into the villainous character.
Yeah. And also, what I think is good about the wealthy thing, James, is like the wealthy actor thing is like she also is always willing to invest in her career. Like she recently did horseback training.
Yeah.
Right. And so tell us about that. You did some horseback training.
Yeah, I just felt I needed to freshen up my riding skills, which I hadn't done. And also, I think the difference, obviously, is when you have a riding lesson in a riding school, it's very different to when you're riding on set. So what they taught us was to regain your balance when you're riding, when you're on set and you're losing your balance, and how to right yourself and all that sort of thing. And it makes you feel safer. So I think I needed that. I really did.
And did they photograph you or film you while you were doing that?
They did photograph me, but I want to go back and do a riding reel. But obviously I have to wait until the space becomes available. So hopefully a space will become available soon.
Yeah. I think you should also have a motorcycle one.
Yeah.
But, you really understand who this person is. And I think it's great. And just going and looking for the opportunities is how I would do it right now. I think it's because you have such a clear product.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So you do motorcycle riding?
No, that's I said.
I don't, but I could fit that in at some point,
I mean, you're also you're a tango dancer. And Latin
I need to do a refresher on that as well. So just keep refreshing things, as you go along as an actor, because I always rotate it around whether I work on an accent or I work on a skill, and I just, you can't do it all at once. So you have to prioritize, and you just rotate it around. And
so do you have particular accents that you have as a go-to that you just slip into?
Yeah, I recently did a course in American accent, and I want to do one Irish accent and see, just to keep it fresh.
Yeah. I love doing accent work. And I started doing audiobooks, and audiobooks require that. Just, having flexibility to move into different characters. I see that you like to read. What kinds of books do you like to read? Like, if like what's your go-to in the world of books?
I like to read books about acting, about people writing about their acting career and how they progressed and how they moved forward or whatever when things didn't go well and what they did to pick themselves up, dust themselves off, and go on. I think that's really interesting.
Do you have any people who you really look up to as an actor? Like people you're like, oh, that is who I want to be like. They're doing exactly what I want to be doing.
I really admire Meryl Streep because she's just so versatile with all her
Mm.
accents and all the things that she can do.
Yeah, she does. She has so many skill sets.
Yeah.
She's so adept at that. And so it's really amazing. I love that about her too. And I think, like, for someone that wasn't even sure she wanted to do it, you've really fallen in love with it, which is really cool. Is there a question, James?
There is. So Adrian Callas asks, okay, here's my question. What is the issue with American accent that is particularly tricky? And question two, do you have any pet peeves when you hear other British actors doing an American accent?
I think it's the rhythm and the emphasis that you put that is different to the British. I don't know. British actors, I think generally speaking, they're quite good at an American accent. I don't know if nowadays that you can get an American actor. You don't necessarily need a British actor to play an American character.
But so many of them do. But so many of them do. I mean, they open your mouth and are like, I didn't know you were British. Like that new
Okay.
on the pit.
Oh yeah,
the
Idris Elba, for example, and Tim Hardy.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
on the pit just now, which was a popular show, the little doctor, he was British, right? And his accent was really good.
Yeah.
There are a few of them. The Pit has a number of UK actors.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting the question of what opens up in the US for actors. We have a much larger market. There are a lot more people. I think what Valerie was saying about you sort of really having a clear sense of who you are in the marketplace, that really empowers you. We are a commodity culture in a lot of ways, and having a real clear brand helps people.
Yeah.
So Val,
Yes.
what are the things you and Bridget have known each other for a while?
Mhm.
What, as a coach, where do you see Bridget?
Well, I think I said it earlier. I mean, I think that it's all mindset. And I find with a lot of clients that I have at Bridget's level, that is all it is. Now, sometimes it's perceived, sometimes it's about, and I've done this with Bridget as well. Like we make a plan, like she was going to speak at an event or she needed to have a conversation with someone that was a difficult conversation or something like that. Like we talked about those things, which I often talk. And also like, with some of my bigger clients, they're talking about producing their own things and stuff like that. I think also one thing I noticed about Bridget is is very money conscious. Would you agree with that, Bridget? Your money.
Absolutely, yeah. And I can tell you how that came about because I wasn't always like that. When you cast your mind back to 2006, what the industry was like, and I was with an agent then, and I just finished filming Harry Potter, and obviously beginning of 2007, I was getting royalties. And my then agent, what I didn't know at the time, they were actually withholding my royalties. And so, for example, I would get a pay slip and it would say X amount had arrived for me. And then I would phone my agent saying, when is that money going to come into my account? Because obviously it went to them. And they would say, oh, yeah, our accountant's coming in next Friday and they will transfer the money. So you should have it by Tuesday or whatever it was. And then Tuesday came or Wednesday and the money wasn't in the bank. So I phoned my agent again and said, oh yeah, let me just phone her up and see if she's done. And obviously eventually I realized that nothing had been done and they were just holding the money in their account. So I phoned Equity and they eventually sorted it. They phoned my agent and they sorted it all out for me. And then what I did, what Equity advised me to do is contact Warner Brothers and ask them to pay the money directly into my account and then pay my agent, which is what I did. Yeah, that's what happened. That was my first proper job. And obviously to have that happen to you, it really, it really sets you up for, to be, conscious about money and just where is it going? Where is it coming from? Where is it going? When is it coming? And all of that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's one thing that makes you a successful actor is like, because you are business minded and you think about money and you're focused on it. And, all of us have gone through that, right? Like I've had money stolen from me, right? Like, and I think that that's a hard way to learn a lesson, but it's how most of us have to do it. Right. But like, I try to go, if anyone is listening to me or hearing this recording that hasn't had that happen to you yet, please listen to this, because you have to watch your money, and you have, and I think like the thing is like, I get all my royalties and residuals sent to me because I've had so many agents and managers throughout the years. It's like, it's just smarter to do that. And then you pay them.
Can I just ask, how did you set that up in the US? Because do they send you a check in the post, or?
Well, mostly SAG does. So SAG collects them and SAG sends them to you without you redirect them to your agency. You have to do that. But if you don't, if you just put your address in at Screen Actors Guild AFTRA, if you just put it in there, you'll get the residuals sent to you.
Yeah.
Because like I got a check for like $100 or something. It was like for 4 different shows. Now I'll probably pay my agent out on the whole check, but he didn't get me Glee. I booked Glee before I was with my current agent, right? Yeah. But I'll pay him out on Glee because most of it is American Horror Story, or I forget, it's like different stuff, right? So sometimes it comes in a group check. It's a bunch of things.
Yeah, here in the UK, I arranged it with Equity so that they pay it directly into my account.
It's good. It's good that you did that.
Yeah. So another question that's been asked, at what point were you able to quit having a day job? Assuming you had a day job, have you had to pick up any non-acting work during slow times? And how do you navigate that?
Yeah, I remember teaching aerobics classes and working as a fitness instructor. Because obviously as a fitness instructor on the gym floor, you have a rota, and you can say, I want to work 8 hours a week or 10 or whatever, however many. You don't have to full time. If there's more flexibility there. So that was definitely a plus for sure. Yeah.
Do you have favorite directors you've worked with?
Yeah, Sam Mendes is the best.
Can you talk a little bit about like what is the experience of working with him, and how is it different from some of the other people?
He's so warm and friendly. When the first time I came on set, he just gave me a hug, and it was just like a real bear hug, and it was just so nice because you were made to feel so welcome. And also he gave me carte blanche basically, because that little speech that I'm doing, and they had written that in English, and they said, do you want us to get a translator and translate it for you? I said, no. I said, I'll translate it myself. So basically I wrote my own lines. And my translation doesn't exactly match the speech in English. So the executive producer, and she came up to me, she said, is that the exact translation of the line? I said, no, it isn't. I've translated it in a way that fits my character, because my character is a scientist. She's a very powerful lady. So I wanted that to come across in the German lines. She said, oh, well, now we've done 15 takes. We can't change this anymore. And I thought, yes, I got it my way. And I did the speech the way I wanted.
That's great. I was in a play with on Broadway with Harris Yulin, and the first day that I came to the rehearsal room, he's a much more established Broadway actor, and the first day that I came in the room, he pulled out a box of chocolates and offered me a chocolate, and he did so for everyone else who was joining the cast that day. Like they're really the thing so beautiful about, to what you said about Sam Mendes, hugging you, and that idea of how we are welcomed in, and how we are greeted and how we're treated. And I mean, in the story you just told, that you also were describing the way in which we need to establish the realm that is ours. That you needed to write and modify that script. In order,
exactly, because there were sentences that went on and on and on, and by the end of the sentence you've forgotten what had been said at the beginning of the sentence. And I thought, that doesn't really make any sense. A scientist wouldn't talk like that. They would be precise and to the point, and Do you know what I mean? And that's the power of the person, their knowledge and their power that they bring to the table and dominate the whole scene, basically.
Yeah, I just want to point out this is the second time we've heard this story. I mean, the first one was with Angela when she demanded that they change the line, or when she was already in New York, or she wasn't going to film with a major, one of the biggest female producers in the world. And you did it. You did your own thing, and I think, wow, I love all this bravery with these females we're talking to. Or Monica is another one. Monica, when she was in her audition for hijacking a flight 61 or whatever it was, she told them, she stopped after her audition, she said, and she told them how much she wanted this part and that she should have this part. And she'd never done anything like that before. And they hired her. It's like, I think there's a common theme here with actresses I'm working with. There's a level of bravery. I'm very proud of that. That, your bravery in that situation is really exciting.
It is. Yeah. I think it's also, we are people in front of people.
Yeah.
And I think we can forget, sometimes we forget that when it's a person who has a lot of power over us, we forget that that's just another person. And how we come to the table says a lot and matters a lot. And people, if we're willing to step forward in our power, people respond. And if we don't, then we've missed an opportunity. And part of our job is finding the moments that feel right to step forward. And your story, Brigitte, is lovely. Because it was true, right? You were speaking the truth of the character, and
where the courage came from, I have no idea.
Well, but I think, as an observer, I think that part of where it came from, as in the way that you tell the story, is that it was the truth of the character, right? That you were honoring who this was. This is a powerful doctor. And the powerful doctor is going to speak differently than the script. The script wasn't holding that, and I love that. I love that you were like, no, that I need to tell the truth of this person.
Well, if also, just pure and simple, if you want it done in what you want it to say as a company, and you want her to speak German, then you better write it, right, rather than having your actor transcribe it. And I think that's if you want that kind of control. I think, it's like anything else, and every language sounds different, so when you're saying something that you can't make that joke or say that thing in that language, it doesn't work, right?
And German, if it was translation from German,
it was German, right?
Yeah. German to us is very circuitous. Like their way of expressing a thought is so different from speaking in English, and especially for American American English, we're very direct, but I love that. I love that story. Have you? Are you a writer? Have you written anything?
Never written anything. No. I guess we'll try that.
Hey, yeah. And I want to say, if you're just joining us now, we're talking with Brigitte Millar, and she is from, she did Harry Potter and the last 2 James Bond movies. She has a great resume. So I saw some people joined us. So I just wanted to add that. And if you have questions, please put them in the Q&A. We'd be happy to answer them for you. So you had this thing where you went to Ireland, right? Was it Ireland or Germany where you went and you did the big, because there's these big giant James Bond groups, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's kind of like going to Comic-Con a little bit. So tell us about that. Yeah. Tell me about that experience. What did, The
German James Bond Club invited me over to Germany. They flew me out to Bad Dürkheim, and we all watched No Time to Die. And obviously there was a gala dinner in the evening. and I did an interview, and there was a Bond singer, a lady that specializes in Bond songs. She's got a fantastic voice. She could do anything, but she's decided to do what she's called Lady Bond or something like that. And she's saying it was fantastic. Yeah, it was really interesting to meet the fans, you know, and they're all diehard Bond fans, like total, you know, diehard.
Now, can you make money doing that? Can you like do, because you know, a lot of times when you do sci-fi things and stuff like that, you can make money signing autographs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did make money from it. I got paid for it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
And obviously, one of the things I always insist on is, and I did that from day one, is they have to pay my flight, they have to pay my transfer, and they have to pay my hotel, they have to feed and water me, and they have to pay me a daily fee. And I say that from before we even go any further. And these are my conditions, these are my terms. And you can either say yes or you can say no. And that's that.
I love this.
Yes,
I love
that makes me like tingle when you said that just now. Because, like, you know, you have a system in place, and we talk about that all the time, right? Like, what are your systems and what are your rules, not their rules, right? Because if you don't have that thing, then they're going to walk all over you, right?
Yeah, it's so true, and also there's so many things. There's so many things that are negotiable.
Yeah.
Right. In our industry, you know, I mean, and people can go overboard, and I know that there are actors who make, you know, crazy demands, but then there's this whole other realm of things that, like, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it, because you didn't ask for it, you know.
Yeah.
And so this is that thing of, like, you have to know what you need to bring your best self, and you have to know what works for you, and you have to be able to stand up for it. And Valerie and I right now at this moment we're both working with an actress who's moving into producing a project, and she's having to learn to say no, right? No, that, you know, this has to happen this way for me, and it's really important. And I love that you say what you've said, you know, with such clarity, you know, that this is what you require.
Yeah.
It's a place of power that's really lovely to experience and see. And I also love that there's a German James Bond club, because I would never have known that, you know.
Of course there is.
Of course there is. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's, you know, it's so amazing, like, how we get through our obstacles, right? And the quicker you get through your obstacles, the more successful you're going to be, right? And so I think that's something that you have going for you as you get through your obstacles, because, like, you know, there is a lot of bravery that exists in asking for what you want and saying no to something and setting boundaries and having rules. Like, but once you do it a couple of times, it gets easier. I mean, when you agree with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I recently, was it last year? I think it was it May last year? I got an offer to play a German professor in Legacy Africa, and they were offering a very small sum to go into London and then go to the studio and film the part. And I said no, thank you. I pass, because the sum wasn't what I wanted. And they actually said, oh, don't worry, and we'll come back to you. I'll speak to my whatever. And then they came back to me and they offered me the sum that I wanted. And they picked me up from the station and took me to the studio and dropped me back off. And, you know, so yeah, you have to ask and you have to say if that's okay or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You know, for any clients that are listening to this, please go listen to the negotiation course in Actors Biz School, because, you know, Mike talked a lot about this, and, you know, you have to be willing to lose the job, right? And know what your worth is when you ask for what you want. But it all, you know, I mean, sometimes I just turn down the audition altogether because I'm like, they're so far below what I would do it for. I just don't
Yeah.
see that. Maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should always do it and then say, but like when they're so low, you're like,
But what if you do the job and then you feel resentful?
oh yeah. So I know what my number is. Like I know what my number is, and I certainly can't lose money acting because some of the offers I get come from California, and I live in New York, and and they want me to come there, and they want me to pay everything, right? So I'm like, no.
And I think what you're saying is really important, Bridget. That that we have to know what will be enough that we can bring our best self to a project, and not say no, and not say yes to anything lower than that, because we need to bring our best self forward. It takes a commitment of our soul and spirit to do the work.
Yeah.
And if we're constantly thinking these people didn't give me what I want, I'm not being compensated for my work, I'm like that story undermines us.
Yeah.
From really bringing our full heart and soul. I mean, in a way, I'm going back to I'm looking at the story of Emil Nolde, the painter in your family, who died in poverty, and now his paintings are selling for a lot of money, right? It's like, I mean, in the business world, businesses would be happy to pay us a lot less than we're worth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of their goal is to pay less and make more. So that will, knowing our value is critical, and being willing to make a demand of that value is essential for us to play in the business marketplace.
Yeah, and we're seeing a lot more. I mean, it's going to get worse, right? Because there's a lot of negotiating. Like, you and I talked about vertical content a little bit, right? Because I think you could really make a shit ton of money doing that. But then it's like, oh, is it what I really want to do? No, you really want to do Marvel. But I think that you would do well in vertical content because you are so villainous that I think that's something that they need because it's soap opera, right? They always need the evil woman. And I also think you would do really good in horror, and we've talked about that as well.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that would be a fun sort of tour. I mean, I'm hoping that we can talk together about this tour that you're going to do of America, because I also think like the horror thing is a really easy to break into, and it might be fun for you to just stay on the ground and get sort of into that B-level horror stuff, because that's a really good thing to do. And it a lot of it pays like you could get $5,000 and you'd shoot, that'd be great, right? Like, okay, I'm gonna shoot this movie for $5,000, or even like $2,500, right, to shoot the movie, as long as they pay to fly you there and go shoot it and get all of that footage. And also because it's such a small world, and horror movies always do well. I've had a number of girls kind of, and I told you this, climb the ladder that way by doing horror movies.
Yeah, it's definitely something to consider.
Yeah, it is, because I think like you could just get that thing where they call you like you're in every, like, what's her name that was in every I can't think of her name right now. She was in every I can't think of the name of the movie. It's a series, they're all series like Saw and all that stuff. But yeah, awesome.
Do you have movies that you watched that are your favorites? Like, are you somebody who watches a lot of film and television, or are you someone who just acts in film and television?
I do watch occasionally things that have made a big impact on me. I still remember Sigourney Weaver in Alien, and the way she developed that role, and the way that character sort of, she expanded that character, and the success of that, obviously. And it really, I presume it set her up for life, or,
Yeah. Oh, so you're always thinking about the bottom line and the actor getting that's so good. Like I told you she was money minded, right? You know, which is perfect for the wealthy actor. Yeah, so you're thinking about you like to watch roles because of what
you know what really helped me. You know what you taught me very early on when you said you want to think about when you're accepting a role. Is it the money, or is it the director, or maybe there's an A-list actor involved, or maybe that's such a good role that you can use for your show reel, or that there has to be something.
Yeah.
And that's something you said that very early on to me.
Yeah.
And something that stuck with me throughout my career.
Yeah. It saved me, you know, because when I started acting, I was going to auditions out of backstage. Right. And sometimes you'd show up and the audition would be a shit show, you know, and then you'd be like, you know, and so like if it was, I usually walked out because I did get cast in one of the shit show auditions, and then the production was a shit show, right? So like it's, you know, I think that's something, and I'm so glad you appreciated the criteria list because that really makes a difference. The more that you have the ability to have a process that you go through with every decision and it's automated, then you don't get stuck like we were talking about earlier about getting stuck at the problem, or I'm afraid to have this conversation because the person might not like me, or they might fire me or whatever. But the more you understand your value and you stand in your value, then it's just equal footing, like having a conversation with something. And it's so funny that you had that with Sam Mendes, because I wrote Sam Mendes a letter. It's the most proud I ever was of a letter that I wrote. And it was because I talked to him in the letter like I was on equal footing. He never answered me, but it was my favorite letter I ever wrote. And I wish I had a copy of it somewhere. I probably do if I really look.
Wow, amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah. Because I felt like I could go in, like when you can go in and feel like you deserve to be there and that you are exactly what they're looking for and you're a pro and you know your value, that's game solved almost. Then you just have to be consistent.
Do you have any directors who you are really, really want to work with that person?
I would love to work with Steven Spielberg. I think he's amazing. I don't know what he's like to work with because I don't know him. And I don't know anybody who's worked with him. I don't know. He sounds like a really interesting person to work with.
I feel like if he did another, you know, Nazi movie, you could definitely fit into that. You could do that. That would, we want to see you play that evil woman that works in the camps. Like, oh my God, we need to see you play that part.
That would be good fun. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. You know, I mean it. I want to talk to you and let's really package this villainous and let's go after it. Let's go after Steven Spielberg. Let's get, you know, because he needs you to tell us stories. There's so many stories you fit in. I'm excited.
Yeah.
What's going to be next for you?
Yeah. Yes, so am I. Yeah.
Awesome. Do we have any other questions, James, today?
None from our audience of listeners, but one question that I have is if you could dream in this next few years in front of you, like if you could dream them into being, what would the next few years look like?
I would definitely love to work with Benedict Cumberbatch on he's in some Marvel stuff, or he's been in some Marvel stuff. I would love to work with him. I think he's great. And anything Marvel I love anyway. That's my universe. I just absolutely adore that sort of thing. And then maybe some sort of Netflix drama. I'm not quite sure what's going at the moment, but anything sort of really dramatic. And then maybe comedy as well. I would love to do a comedy, like a comedic role.
So when you're in LA, you should just do a little bypass by Disney, because you could also be an incredible character on Disney.
That would be fun. Yeah.
So another question has popped up. Did you find that the industry automatically understood your brand? Or did you have to refine and lead them a bit before they got you?
Definitely refine and lead. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also it depends how you want to put your show reel together, what you focus on. And you can definitely show that in your show reel as well by picking certain scenes. So it's more obvious. Make it obvious, I would say. Yeah, for sure.
Make it obvious. Make it obvious, make it clear, make it direct. I mean, that's why you're working, is because people know exactly what to do with you.
Yeah.
And can you talk about how you refined it? How did you construct it, and how did you build that sense of what your brand is?
I realized that I like playing villainesses, so I picked projects and I applied for projects where I could play the villainess, and then obviously get the footage and get that in my show reel and have it edited really well and make, as Valerie says, make it really obvious, and then that it snowballs on from there, and people see that and they think, oh yeah, she can do that, and let's hire her to do this.
And before you consciously did that, was there a type of character you tended to be cast as? In other words, was your movement into the villainous character a movement away from something that didn't quite fit you right?
I think from leading on from Emmeline Vance, because she was like a really good stately witch. So from that stateliness, that sort of led me then to think, okay, if I can do that, it sort of automatically led to sort of more serious characters that have sort of gravitas and power and charisma. And that's how it took a turn somehow.
That's great.
And it also depends how you hook into characters. I mean, you have characters, I'm sure that you both know that there are characters that you can get into really quickly, and other characters where you sort of think, this is going to take a little bit more time to sort of feel my way into it.
Mm-hmm. I actually think of the way that I look at it is that almost all the characters I play actually have the same core, and that it's almost like a diamond, and you're sort of shining out through the different facets of the diamond, but the diamond has an integrity, right? The diamond is the integrity that is us as a vehicle. The different facets are all slightly different, so that your expression of the villainous character still has that gravitas and that charisma that is sort of essential, which I think is lovely. Honestly, I want to watch you, and I want to see your clips, and I want to see your reel. If somebody wants to learn more about you, where do they go?
Site and on Actors Access and on Spotlight, obviously.
Yeah, that's great. Good.
Great. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you so much for being here. I love the structure you shared with us, because that is the answer to wealthy. And it really fit the podcast very well today. And the theme of this podcast, because it's not always just wealthy money, but you really think like a businesswoman. And I want other people to hear that. And your structures that you have set. That was fantastic information for all of us. Thank you so much, girl. And I'm looking forward to seeing you when you're in the United States.
Yes, absolutely. I'll send you an email, and we'll get together and have a chat.
Perfect.
And I can't wait to see you in your Marvel film.
Oh my God. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Twitter magic.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you next time on the Wealthy Actor Podcast. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.